How is finite and infinite mindset related to growth versus fixed mindset?
There's probably a lot of similarity. I embraced Dr. Kars's definitions, which I loved, because I think for me, it was less about me. So fixed mindset or growth mindset is sort of how I view me in my role in this world. What I like about finite and infinite games and those concepts is they're a re-understanding of how the world actually works. It's like discovering or gravity. It's like, ooh, this is actually how the world works, and I wasn't aware of it. And I don't think though we talk about long term, very few organizations are really good at planning long term, because there's elections and there's bonuses and there's promotions and all things that throw those things off, egos and insecurities and all the rest of it. And so I really liked his definitions, because I think because how long is long term? It could be 5 years for some organizations. Heck, in this day and age, it could be 1 year, sadly. And so I like the idea of infinity. I like the idea of how do we build an organization to last forever? I mean, how do you ensure that the Rangers will last forever? It makes you realize that some of the standards are quite imposing and quite different than you would think. That how do we win every time? If the standard is win every time, you might hire people who are strong but have questionable values. When you say we want to last forever, you start tilting towards values and understand that the quality of the teamwork is what will make the organization thrive, rather than any particular individual. And I like that. But I'm sure there's a lot of overlap with fixed versus growth mindset.
Hey, Simon, so since we have a lot of our spouses here in the room, and then also dialed in, I was curious if you can expand upon applying infinite game mindset or infinite game to our marriages.
I always like when people ask marriage advice from the single guy. So to have a finite mindset in a marriage is when you have an argument, for example, and you're determined to win the argument, that will strain a marriage. That doesn't mean, whereas when you have an argument and you have an infinite mindset, the answer is what can I do to make this better? You can literally say that. If you get in trouble with something, you can say, what can I do to make this better? Learning to say sorry is, saying sorry doesn't mean you're wrong. It means you take accountability for your actions. That doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means you're accountable for the things you said or the things you did. And showing up every day to ensure that the marriage will survive until the day you die is a different standard than how do I get what I want today? So for example, considering the other person is more infinite mindset. I'll give you a silly example. A friend calls you up and says, hey, do you guys want to come over on Saturday for a barbecue? Now, you know that you have no plans on Saturday. You know that your spouse likes these people. You know that you like barbecues. You know it's going to be a nice day. And so you say to your friend, yeah, we'd love to come. And then you come home and you say to your spouse, hey, the Johnsons called, they invited us to a barbecue on Saturday. I said yes, so we're going to go to their house on Saturday for a barbecue, right? Now, though the answer may still be yes, it makes someone else feel like they're uninvolved in the decisions being made, versus getting the phone call inviting you to the barbecue, and you say, instead of saying yes, you say, sounds amazing, I think we're free, let me check. And you go home to your spouse and say, the Johnsons called, invited us to the barbecue, do you want to go? And your spouse says, I'd love to. We love the Johnsons. We love barbecues, and Saturday is going to be a beautiful day. And you call back and say, we'd love to come. Even though the answer was going to be the same and you knew that 100%, including another person in the decision is part of doing things that will ensure that a relationship can last for a long time. And to many of us, to many people that I talk to, predominantly men, they don't actually see the difference, which is, you were going to say yes, so what's the problem? I just said yes. They don't see the difference that including someone in a decision is called consideration. It's called considerate. It's called teamwork, even though the answer was going to be the same. I encourage a lot of people to watch a little YouTube video called "It's Not About the Nail." It's the one with a bazillion views. There's that sometimes, basically, I'll tell you what it is. It's a woman who has a nail in her head, and she's complaining to her boyfriend that she keeps having headaches. And he says, well, it's because you have a nail in your head. She says, stop trying to fix things all the time, you know? And all he had to say is, boy, that must really hurt. And she says, thank you, it does. And it's going back to those listening skills. I just happen to have a book on my desk. I recommend it. It's how to talk to kids so kids will listen, and listen so kids will talk. Yes, it is a parenting book. Turns out talking to children and talking to adults is really similar. And sometimes it's just about validating someone's feelings rather than trying to fix a problem. Again, something that men suffer from more than women, trying to fix everything. So I think that deferring and recognizing that it's a team and it's a partnership, and including the other person as much as possible, is part of perpetuating and helping an organization and a marriage thrive for the very long term. By the way, everything that I just said works very well on any team.